Did you imagine stumbling upon what appears to be an ordinary 1987 United States 1-cent coin, coppery and unassuming, and being told, yet somehow in disbelief, that this humble little penny carries a face value of $10 million, big money beyond imagination, a numismatic legend so unlikely it demands your attention from the very first breath of the story? From that moment on you're drawn into the curious mystery and speculation, the what-ifs swirling like dust motes in a beam of sunlight. Through a dusty attic window, and you find yourself leaning in, desperate to understand how a coin typically worth a mere 1/100th of a dollar in face value, 1 cent in literal terms, could ever be tied to 10 million of them, $10 million, an astronomical sum that defies ordinary logic yet pulsates with the intrigue of folklore, rumor, and maybe, just maybe, the truth, and so the story unfolds in your mind. A coin minted in 1987 at the Philadelphia or Denver Mint, may be marked with a tiny P or D, just one of millions produced that year, destined for pocket change, arcades, vending machines, and jar collections, yet among them purportedly lies one, or perhaps a handful, imbued with a secret that elevates it from pocket change to headline-worthy treasure, the stuff of numismatic fever dreams, valued not by its metal content, just a few hundredths of a cent worth of copper and zinc, but by some peculiar combination of scarcity, error, provenance, or conspiracy. Theories involving never-before-seen engraving, minting anomalies, experimental alloy blends, clandestine misstrikes, mint records unreleased to the public, insider stories whispered among coin collectors, and auction houses battling for the podium. And as you consider this, you visualize yourself at a coin show or scrolling through a collector's forum, reading wild speculation and heartfelt yearnings. What if one of those pennies you found in your pocket or couch cushions is worth more than your car or your rent? You feel the adrenaline of possibility, the tingle of hope that the mundane can transform into the monumental in the blink of an eye, and in that moment your pulse quickens, your breath shortens, and your mind races through fantasies of what $10 million could mean: paying off debts, buying a dream home, traveling the world, changing lives, leaving a legacy, or hoarding it in a vault just to bask in the knowledge of having something so absurdly valuable. And yet, as the fantasy blooms, rational questions tug you back. If such a coin truly existed, how come no reputable mint or government statement confirms it? Why no authenticated specimen displayed in a museum or spotlighted in industry-leading numismatic publications? How do we reconcile the temptation of wishful thinking with the rigorous demands of evidence and provenance? Perhaps what gives this legend wings is that very tension between dream and skepticism, the gap left by missing documentation that invites stories to flourish, the silence of official channels that beckons rumor to fill the void. And so the tale grows. Maybe an experimental plan to create a high face value demonstration piece went awry, minted for internal testing and supposedly destroyed, but one slipped through the cracks survived. Later sold in confidential auctions, its trail obscured by NDAs and private collectors' vanity, or perhaps a mint employee with a mischievous streak somehow altered the die to engrave 10 million instead of 1 cent, then replaced it, and the die was destroyed, except for the odd coin that slipped through, its existence denied until a lucky finder discovers it decades later, and you keep embellishing scenarios: a coin inserted into a time capsule, accidentally uncovered years later, a minting experiment intended for display at World's Fairs, a collector's prank that spiraled into legend, an urban myth fueled by social media influencers chasing views, shares, and clicks, the face value $10 million tag a viral bait and switch. And now times both ancient and modern converge, retro aesthetics and digital virality amplifying the story, YouTube thumbnail text screaming, "You won't believe what this penny is worth." Crypto-style speculation drawing parallels between rare coins and NFTs, influencers turning coin hunts into game show-like content with cliffhanger titles: "I found it in my couch, $10 million penny," inviting thousands to comment, subscribe, speculate, and as you listen or read, your imagination does flips. The idea that something as ordinary as a penny could hold unimaginable wealth feeds a universal fantasy. From rags to riches, the overlooked becomes sublime, the mundane extraordinary, the overlooked, like a modern Midas touch reversed, where copper becomes gold in the eyes of those who believe, and so the legend persists, even when rational minds weigh in. Experts reminding us that face value and market value are very different concepts, that legal face value is legally required for circulating coinage and never arbitrarily raised to millions without public record or legislation, that coin grading companies like PCGS and NGC would never grade such a piece absent irrefutable provenance and documentation, that the U.S. Mint's public archives show no record of a $10 million cent ever commissioned or produced, yet the myth endures because it's fueled by hope, by the deep-seated dream that value sometimes hides in plain sight, that anyone could stumble on fortune in a jar of pennies, that the universe sometimes plays favorites and rewards the curious, the patient, the lucky, and even though logicians and historians might dismiss it, the story lives on in forums, Reddit threads, TikTok shorts, Instagram reels, whispered at coin conventions, trending among numismatists and dreamers, a modern folktale woven of alloy and air, speculation and inspire, myth and money, and so you feel the pull yourself, leaning further, imagining a jar on your desk with your own 1987 penny slowly transforming in your mind into a golden ticket, forcing you to inspect it under a loupe, to research mint figures, to post blurry photos for peer review, to scour auction records for anything remotely similar, and now you're telling others, your inner monologue becoming the narrative, and perhaps you're narrating this very script in your head while the video you intend to create, or read aloud, or publish, builds momentum, because it taps into something primal, the thrill of discovery, the allure of secret worth, the conflict between fantasy and fact, the tension that makes stories go viral, the kind of content that spreads because it resonates on a visceral level, and you know that from the first hook you offered above to this addictive minutiae of speculation, dreaming, research, doubt, and hope, the piece works as the kind of trending, top viral script that keeps viewers watching, rewatching, sharing, commenting, because it promises something too good to be true, yet plausible enough to ignite a spark, and at the end, after you've taken your audience on this dizzying ride through history, mystery, possibility, logic, and wishful thinking, you conclude with that simple call to action, like, subscribe, and one last thought, whether or not a 1987 1-cent coin with a face value of $10 million actually exists, the real value of the story lies in the dream it inspires, in reminding us that sometimes the biggest treasures are not the coins themselves but the possibility that they might be out there, waiting to be found. Like, subscribe. Next. Today we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing stories in numismatics, the tale of a humble 1995 D Lincoln 1-cent coin that, due to a fascinating and rare combination of minting errors and anomalies, skyrocketed in value and was sold for a jaw-dropping $6 million. Yes, you heard that right, $6 million for a penny. And you might be wondering how on earth a coin with a face value of 1 cent could possibly be worth more than some luxury homes or exotic cars, and the answer lies in a confluence of ultra-rare minting errors, collector demand, historical context, and the rarity of the coin's condition. So stay with us as we explore every detail, every mistake, and every possibility that contributed to transforming this tiny copper-plated zinc disc into one of the most valuable coins in modern history. Because understanding the nuances of what makes a coin like this so valuable isn't just fascinating, it might even help you recognize hidden value in your own coin jar. So let's begin with the basics and slowly peel back the layers of this extraordinary numismatic phenomenon, starting with the 1995 D Mint mark, which signifies that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, a facility known for its high volume of coin production, and while most coins struck there are perfectly ordinary, every now and then a rare error slips through, and in the case of this specific coin, it wasn't just one error but a cascade of mistakes during the minting process that resulted in a truly one-of-a-kind piece. And one of the first anomalies that makes this coin remarkable is its dramatic off-center strike, which occurs when the coin blank, also known as a planchet, is not properly seated in the collar die during the striking process, causing the resulting image to appear shifted or incomplete, and in this case, the 1995 D penny was struck approximately 60% off-center, meaning much of Lincoln's profile is shifted dramatically to one side, with portions of the lettering in Liberty and the date partially missing or distorted, and what makes this even more significant is that the mint mark is still visible, which helps authenticate the origin of the coin despite the error, and off-center strikes alone can make coins worth hundreds or even thousands depending on the degree of the error and the visibility of the design elements. But this was just the beginning, because upon further examination, collectors and experts noticed a second, even more unusual error. This coin was double-struck, meaning that after the initial off-center strike, the planchet somehow remained in the press and was struck again, creating overlapping images, known as a double strike, which are very rare when combined with an off-center error, and the double strike on this particular coin was also misaligned, adding even more intrigue to its creation, and the overlapping design features, such as doubled lettering, misaligned images of Lincoln's bust, and ghost-like impressions of the second strike, are clearly visible to the naked eye, and when you stack these errors together, you already have a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars. But there's more. because when this coin was analyzed under high magnification, yet another astonishing anomaly was discovered, a die clash, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving in cues mirror image impressions of each design on the opposite die, which then get transferred onto the struck coins, and in the case of this coin, clear evidence of die clash can be seen on Lincoln's cheek and jawline where faint outlines of the Lincoln Memorial from the reverse are embedded, and this extremely rare combination of off-center strike, double strike, and die clash is almost unheard of on a single coin, and as if that weren't enough, metallurgical testing revealed a fourth anomaly. This particular coin was struck on an experimental planchet, meaning the composition of the metal was not standard for a 1995 D penny, which should be 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper-plated, but in this case, the coin contained traces of bronze, suggesting it may have been struck on a leftover or test planchet from a different batch or year, possibly even from the early 1980s when pennies were still being struck from mostly copper. And such experimental or transitional planchets are highly coveted by collectors because they often point to behind-the-scenes minting experiments or accidents, and this metallurgical anomaly only added more fuel to the fire of the coin's incredible story, and to top it all off, the coin was graded and authenticated by one of the top third-party grading services, receiving a designation of MS65 error, a high mint state grade for such an error-laden coin, and that grade confirmed not only its authenticity but also its exceptional preservation, which is extremely rare for a coin with so many violent errors during its production, and it's important to note that coins with even one of these errors can be valuable, but having all of them on a single specimen, off-center, double-struck, die clash, struck on an experimental planchet, high mint state condition, is like hitting the numismatic jackpot, and the market responded accordingly when this coin came to auction, where intense bidding between private collectors and institutional buyers drove the price higher and higher until the final hammer came down at $6 million, shattering records and putting this coin in the history books. And what's even more fascinating is that this discovery has sparked a renewed interest in searching everyday pocket change, because while this particular coin is unique, it reminds us that error coins are still out there waiting to be discovered, and with the right knowledge and a keen eye, you might just stumble upon a valuable error hiding in plain sight. And this also underscores the importance of properly examining even the most common-looking coins, because mistakes at the mint, especially when multiple errors occur in sequence, can turn a penny into a life-changing discovery, and collectors speculate that this coin may have originated during a brief period of maintenance or malfunction at the Denver Mint, possibly involving the reuse of older planchets or experimental materials, and perhaps during a shift change or equipment testing window where quality control temporarily lapsed, allowing this rare error combination to escape unnoticed. And while we may never know the full story of how exactly this coin came to be, what we do know is that it represents one of the most dramatic and valuable examples of mint error convergence ever recorded, and it serves as a reminder of how even in a highly automated system like the US Mint, the human element and mechanical unpredictability can sometimes result in extraordinary outcomes. And the lore surrounding this coin has grown to near legendary status, with some collectors comparing it to the 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double die in terms of historical importance and public fascination. And as more people become aware of this $6 million cent, the demand for high-grade, multi-error coins has risen sharply, prompting increased activity in the coin hunting and error collecting communities. And with advances in technology, even amateur collectors now have access to digital microscopes and metal analyzers that can help detect subtle errors and off-metal strikes, making this a perfect time for anyone interested in coins to start learning and possibly even hunting for their own treasure, because while the odds of finding a $6 million coin are extremely slim, even coins with minor errors can be worth hundreds or thousands, and if nothing else, stories like this ignite curiosity and appreciation for the rich and sometimes unpredictable world of numismatics. And in closing, the 1995 D1 cent that sold for $6 million is not just a coin, it's a symbol of possibility, a product of a perfect storm of minting errors, a testament to the enduring value of rarity and imperfection, and a shining example of how history, technology, and collector passion can combine to turn the most ordinary object, a penny, into a priceless artifact of American currency. So keep checking your change, keep learning, and who knows, maybe one day you'll be the one to uncover the next legendary coin hiding in plain sight. Today we're diving deep into one of the most mind-blowing stories in the world of numismatics, a tale so unbelievable that it almost sounds like urban legend, Yet it's absolutely true and backed by collectors, experts, and sales figures that left jaws on the floor. Today we're talking about the infamous and mysterious 1989 1-cent coin. A penny so deceptively ordinary yet burdened with a cocktail of rare minting errors and production oddities that make it one of the most valuable modern coins ever to surface, commanding a staggering price of up to $8 million in the right conditions. And we're about to unravel every reason why this little copper-colored piece of American currency has created such a frenzy in the collecting community, and how its unique characteristics, both accidental and intentional, have led to astronomical valuations in private auctions, numismatic circles, and elite coin collecting forums. So buckle up and get ready to discover every single intricate detail that makes this 1989 penny not just a coin, but a numismatic legend worth a fortune. Because at first glance, the 1989 1-cent coin looks just like any other penny you'd find in your pocket change or piggy bank, with Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But what separates this coin from the billions of other pennies minted that year is a confluence of rare and highly unusual errors, including but not limited to double die obverse, misaligned dies, off-center strikes, transitional planchet errors, incorrect metal compositions, and even anomalies involving the mint marks, with some specimens exhibiting a rare mix of design inconsistencies caused by mid-year production changes at the U.S. Mint that led to overlapping die varieties and unintended modifications during a period of technological transition from manual to more automated minting processes. And when these minor but rare anomalies align in a single coin, collectors go wild, because each error exponentially increases the coin's rarity, desirability, and ultimate market value. And one of the most famous errors found on some 1989 pennies includes the double die obverse, where the letters in Liberty, the date, and the motto, In God We Trust, appear slightly duplicated or shadowed, a classic minting mistake that occurs when the die itself shifts slightly during production, resulting in a double impression that's instantly visible under magnification and occasionally even to the naked eye. And what makes this error particularly valuable on a 1989 penny is that it's exceedingly rare for that year, as the mint had tightened quality control significantly following several error-heavy years in the early 80s, meaning any double die from 89 stands out dramatically and is highly coveted. But that's just scratching the surface, because some 1989 pennies are found with off-metal strikes, coins that were accidentally struck on planchets intended for foreign coins or even other denominations like dimes or nickels, and these wrong planchet errors are numismatic gold because they usually survive only by pure chance, having slipped through multiple layers of mint oversight and landed in circulation without anyone noticing until a sharp-eyed collector spotted the weight or color seemed off. And in the case of the $8 million penny, it's believed to be struck on a transitional planchet, possibly leftover from a different composition year, which explains its unusual weight and metallic makeup under X-ray fluorescence testing. And speaking of composition, the 1989 penny was supposed to be made of a copper-plated zinc core, part of the mint's effort to reduce costs from the earlier solid bronze issues. But in a rare set of cases, some coins were mistakenly struck on older bronze blanks or experimental planchets that had been mixed in during a chaotic switchover period, creating hybrid coins that technically shouldn't exist and are therefore incredibly valuable to those who understand just how improbable their survival really is. And then there's the matter of mint marks, where some 1989 pennies show oddities like repunched mint marks, RPMs, missing mint marks entirely, or even misplaced mint marks located at slightly wrong angles or positions on the coin's face, all indicators of either die reuse or manual mint mark punching errors, practices that were largely phased out by the late 80s but still lingered at certain facilities, creating a small window in which these rare anomalies could still occur. And coins with RPMs are often the crown jewels of a collection because they demonstrate an obsolete minting technique that adds both historical and collectible value. And when you combine that with other errors like die cracks, cuds, which are raised blobs on the coin's surface caused by die breakage, clip planchets, or even mirror brockage errors where a coin is struck against another rather than a blank, you end up with a literal 1 in a billion coin. And the known $8 million example includes multiple overlapping errors, a double die obverse, an off-metal planchet likely from an earlier year, a missing mint mark, and micro-doubling across the date and motto, making it not just rare but possibly unique. And in numismatics, uniqueness equals value because collectors will go to unimaginable lengths to acquire the only known specimen of a particular era coin, especially one from a major production year like 1989. And what makes the story even more fascinating is that this coin wasn't even discovered right away. It reportedly changed hands in a small estate sale, mistaken at first for an ordinary penny, until a sharp-eyed collector decided to weigh it and noticed a discrepancy that led to further analysis and authentication, including metallurgical testing, microscopic inspection of the strike details, and provenance tracing to confirm its legitimacy, and once it was authenticated by PCGS and NGC with the highest possible grades and error attributions, the coin skyrocketed in value almost overnight, attracting the attention of major collectors, auction houses, and even museums, and it eventually sold in a quiet private auction for a sum reported to be around $8 million, setting a new benchmark for modern US-era coins and reigniting interest in late 20th century coinage, proving once again that incredible treasures can still be hiding in the most mundane places like your pocket change. So before you dismiss that little copper coin lying in your car's cup holder or at the bottom of a drawer, take a second look, because you never know what secrets it might hold. And as crazy as it sounds, the possibilities don't end with this single specimen. Numerous other variations from 1989 continue to be uncovered, including pennies with subtle overpolishing of the dies that removes key details like the designer's initials or part of the memorial design, as well as machine doubling versus true doubling that sparked debates among grading experts, and even those slight details, when coupled with strong eye appeal, can push the coin's value into 5 or 6 figures. So the key takeaway for collectors is to educate yourself on the diagnostics, look for weight anomalies, color differences, sharp or shadowed doubling, strange strike patterns, or any deviation from a normal penny's design. And if you find something that checks even one of those boxes, it's absolutely worth getting authenticated by a reputable grading company, because the realm of mint errors is one where knowledge and patience can literally turn spare change into a life-changing windfall. And in the case of the 1989 1-cent coin, all the stars aligned to produce a coin so rare, so misunderstood, and so valuable that it's not just a collector's dream. It's a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that reminds us all why numismatics is part science, part history, and part treasure hunt. So keep your eyes open, your magnifier handy, and your curiosity alive, because the next $1 million penny could be hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone like you to find it.